Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Rahmadani Amelia Syafitri, student's ID A1-2018 from A1 class 2018, English Education Study Program. The purposes of this video is to requirement of my Sarjana Pendidikan degree in English Education Study Program. I would like to present my final paper entitled The Developing Descriptive Text Material Using Project-Based Learning Approach Through Handouts to Teach Writing at Senior High School with first supervisor Miss Aseptiana and the second supervisor is Mr. Efran. Now, to take a look at the first slide, that is background of the research. In this research, the researcher was interested because during she conducted PPL at SMK Cendekia Batu Jajar, her students looked more interested with what she did at the classroom. She made a handout for learning media there and she offered it to the students. By looking at the situation, it makes the researcher understood if the students didn't like to write a material. When the researcher did PPL, almost all of her students are boys. That's a reason why the researcher make handouts. As a teacher, we should know how to make our learning process easier for our students. Handouts can be an alternative for the students. This paper had research questions. They are: first, how is the process of developing descriptive text material using project-based learning through handouts to teach writing at senior high school? Second, how are the feasibilities of developing descriptive text material using project-based learning approach through handouts to teach writing at senior high school? Third, what are the teacher and students' responses toward the descriptive text material developed using handouts? And last, what are the challenges in developing descriptive text material using project-based learning through handouts to teach writing at senior high school? The objectives of this research are: first, to identify the process of developing the descriptive text material using project-based learning approach through handouts to teach writing at senior high school. Second, to identify the feasibilities of developing the descriptive text material using project-based learning approach through handouts to teach writing at senior high school. Third, to find out the students' and teacher responses of developing the descriptive text material using project-based learning approach through handouts to teach writing at senior high school. And last, to investigate the challenges in developing the descriptive text material using project-based learning approach through handouts to teach writing at senior high school. In this slide, we are going to talk about significance of the research. For students, make students improve their writing. Make this class funny with the learning media. And make students interested with learning, especially in English. For teachers, can be an inspiration for teaching to students. Can use this research for reference in learning. Can get some way to teach the students with fun. For other researchers, can get a new knowledge for teaching to students, can practice it in classroom and can make our way in learning process. According to Keraf 1981, descriptive text is a text that correlation with the writer to describe an object. But in other way, Kurniasari 2015 explained descriptive text is a text about experience that someone imagine with clearly. This is emphasized by Pereira 1987. Descriptive text that lively and influential. So descriptive text that is a text that written by someone to explain an object or experience and make it like lively and influential. The indicators of descriptive text according to Kurniasari 2014 as follow. First, text describing a place or person. B, text describing what people did, what their eye, ear, noise, and make people feel what happened on that text. Blumenfeld, 1991, Blumenfeld, Blumenfeld, 1981, Krajcik, Cicerinak, and Berger, 2002, explain the learning environments of project-based learning have 5 features. First, they start with a driving question. Students explore the driving question. Student and teacher communicated and discuss. Students solved it, and students create something. Ellington and Rice, 1984, defined that handouts comprises all the different type of information providing material that are given out to the students, usually in connecting it with a thought lesson or program of something sorts. As in general, handouts used for teaching learning process in the classroom and help students in their learning process to make it easier. According to Suhendar, 2015, writing skill is someone's skill to put an idea into a place of writing. Meanwhile, Sukartiningsih and friends 2030 assumed that writing skill is an ability of mind or feeling in the form of an essay or make a story. According to Harmer 2004, state that the process of writing has 4 main elements. Those are planning, drafting, editing, and final version. From all the previous researchers, almost all of researchers suggest project-based learning as method to teach in the classroom. 7 from 10 researchers are using project-based learning as their method, and they got a good responses from their students. Some of them are teaching descriptive text to improve students' writing skill. 3 from 10 didn't use project-based learning as their method, and students' responses are also good. But one of writers said if their students didn't receive support from the teacher in completing their writing homework, they relied heavily on Google Translate. It can be happened because writer did a research when pandemic was exist. The research took Borg and Gall as an expert of her research. Borg and Gall 1983 explained the step of research and development. Those are: first, research and information collecting. And this step consists of literature that related to the problem being studied and preparation for formulating a research framework. Planning. In this step, explanation, formulating skill and expertise that relate to the problem. Develop preliminary form of product, namely developing the initial form of the product to be produced. Preliminary field testing, namely conducting initial field trials on a limited scale by involving as many 6 to 12 subjects. In this step, the data collection and analysis can be done by means of interview, observation, or questionnaire. Main product revision, namely making improvement to the initial product produced based on the result of the initial trial. Main field testing, the main test involving all of students. Operational product revision, namely making improvements to the result of a wider trial, so that the product developed is already an operational model design that is ready to be validated. Operational field testing, namely the validation test step on the operational model that has been produced. Final product revision, namely making final improvement to the development model in order to produce a final product. And the last is dissemination and implementation, which is a step to the estimation and the developed product or model. Subject of this research are students in SMK Mahardika Batu Jajar that consist of 11 students for preliminary field testing and 20 for main field testing. The instruments of this research are using observation sheet, validation sheet, interview, questionnaire, and research diary. The result of this research based on first research question, the process of making learning media. The researcher follow book and goal step that consist of researcher and information collecting, planning, develop preliminary from the product, preliminary field testing, main product revision, main field testing, final product revision, and dissemination and implementation. To validate the data, the researcher took an aspect from Sugiono 2015, which are material, illustration, quality, and material display. The product that had validated by the lecturers are good and worth to use with little revision. After collecting the data, responses from the students and the teacher were good. The challenges that Ryder faced during made her product is finding resources. Ryder had difficulties to get materials. After discussing with the lecturers, she got solution to make her media and also the material. The process and result of making the learning media use book and goal method. The media had been validated by the expert with good and worth to use. The students and teacher responses of learning media also were good, and the problem that the researcher faced during making media is finding resources. Suggestion for teacher: take attention to the student's skill, take attention to the material, and make sure the media can make the students interest with it. Don't too much text in your learning media. For student, pay attention when the teacher teach in the classroom. Use learning media as what the teacher command. And the last, do all of the instruction as what the teacher command. And for the other researcher, use an example that related with the students or something that happened now. Don't too much text in your learning media and make your learning process more funny. Thank you for me. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.